Every year, like at the start, there's always that shake-up of LCS.
Different rosters, different management, all sorts of players from all countries.
You've got these rookies coming in, you've got these veterans like mixing together on different teams, and it's just the most exciting part of the season.
We have the old Season 2 gods in Alex Each and Froggen. We have GBM coming over from Korea.
또 프로겐이나 인카네이션이나 뭐 다른 미드라이너들 전부 잘하고.
It's pretty exciting to work with all the new players. Everyone's been saying that Alvec's super good, and I'm excited to play against him and find out.
Immortals, it was really unexpected that they'll bring in Rainover and Huni. They're going to make a really, really strong roster.
I think TSM's change is crazy. They have Yellow Star and Savenskuren, and then, yeah, Double Lift leaving COG.
There's so many crazy roster changes and a lot of talent switching around in NA. All I want is to play against better players, and I think this split will be the most competitive split.
Two of the North American LCS Spring Split. We're bringing you 5 more matches live from the Battle Arena here in Los Angeles, where the fans are energized for another day of League of Legends. And you're getting to look outside with the studio, where the crowd was turning the hype up to an 11. And Freeze and Crumbs getting in some reps before they hit the stage to take on NRG. Alltech and GBM, they're headed to the stage just a short time ago. GBM a little camera shy, but he had a standout day yesterday, and we'll look to end the week 2-0. Now, we had our first look yesterday, but today will give us a better picture of the power of these teams. Hello, everyone. I'm James Dash Patterson. Great to have you with us once again. And joining me on the analyst desk, we have Aiden Zyrene Moon, as per usual. And he may have retired from the game, but not from our hearts. It's our special guest, Marcus Dyrus Hill. Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you for joining us, Dyrus.
Thank you for having me.
All right, well, to start off our discussion, I want to get some quick first impressions of the teams as we saw them yesterday, starting with you, Dyrus.
So as expected, CLG looked strong in the macro game as always, even against TSM, although they did only have 2 weeks of practice. And one of the other teams that was expected was Immortals. They had a really, really flawless roster being put together, and seeing them play makes me really happy that Turtle did really well.
Yeah, and Immortals is a roster that has a lot of talent on it, but they were able to synergize relatively quickly. But then on the flip side, TSM has a roster full of talent, but it's still going to take them a while. Like you said, 2 weeks of practice, so their result is a little bit to be expected. But also I want to talk about NRG, because they're a team that actually, they had 2 subs and they still came out with a win. A lot of that was GBM's performance, though.
All right, well, to kind of close out that discussion, let's take a quick look at the boards to see how the teams are positioned after our first day of games. Bunched in the top half of the league with 1 win under their belt, it's CLG, Echo Fox, Immortals, NRG Esports, and Renegades. And in the bottom half, we have Cloud9, Team Dignitas, Impulse, Team Liquid, and TSM. We'll see how that continues to shake out, starting with our first game, Renegades versus NRG. And after that, Dignitas will go up against CLG. We'll conclude the day with Immortals versus Team Impulse. Now, of course, I want to come back to your point, Zyrene, about NRG and GBM specifically, kind of let you roll through that one a little bit longer. Longest games of the season, but GBM playing very well to ensure his team got a victory in the first game of the day.
Yeah, longest games of the season. Of course, it's pretty much the first day of the season, but this is the longest opening day of any season that we've ever had in NA LCS. 42-minute long games, that's the average time. 42 minutes, 3 seconds, which is absolutely insane, because we were expecting this patch to be a little bit faster. We were expecting people to be able to push better, close out leads, but people seem really nervous on stage right now. They don't seem to be able to actually take those leads and then make those risky plays, right? That's how you close the game out, is you have to take some risks to do so.
And of course, one trend that emerged was that most of the old guard teams in TSM, Liquid, Dignitas, and Cloud9 came out with losses. Only CLG coming out with a win, and that's because they were forced to between TSM and CLG. One of them had to win, and all the newer teams are actually the ones banking the wins in this very first week.
Yeah, and it's kind of strange because every established team, every brand that actually carried over lost. So there's a lot of fans out there today that are just like, come on, just pull for their team. But there's a new team that I want to talk about, and you mentioned it earlier, is NRG. NRG, they won despite fielding substitutes. And then GBM had magnificent plays. His laning phase was a little bit weak, but that's to be expected with a mid laner who has a substitute jungler that you've never worked with before. But he had 2 Baron steals, and he also came up with a great team fight on Victor, really showcasing that this is a guy who's contesting those top mid laners in NA.
Right, and Dyrus, I want to come to you because as an experienced player who's been on a team that's gone through many iterations of rosters, you can probably speak to the practice that goes into and those first couple weeks of actual games where the teams are still feeling each other out. What's the process like as a player as you're adjusting to the first couple weeks of actual play as opposed to scrims?
So before I go into that, I wanted to go back to the point of NRG where we had Chris subbing for top lane, I think, or was it?
Yes, we had
Chris and Shrimp
Chris
for Impact and Moon.
So from watching those games, it really showed that the laners were extremely strong, and even though there was some error by Shrimp in the jungle, the laners were able to, play out the game flawlessly and to the rest of the team fights, even though with the mistakes made by Shrimp. But yeah, practicing and going into the first week, it's just really, really hard because when you're on stage, it's like, oh boy, it's been so long. I'm so excited to play again. And finally you're there and it's like, dang, I messed up.
I do want to pick your brain a little bit because you've played against Impact multiple times. How much do you think he's going to change the face of this team coming in today?
So from my experience and from what I've heard from many players is that Impact brought so many things to a team. Like if his team didn't have Engage, he would bring Engage. And if he needed a carry threat, he would bring a carry threat. But he didn't have all the tools he needed on TIP. So by playing with GBM and bringing up Quan and the rest of the team to speed, I believe that they'll do really well.
Yeah, well, we'll find our first impressions of the full roster today. Now looking at Immortals, who had the fastest win of the day, in part to Wild Turtle looking dominant. I want to talk to you as a former teammate of Wild Turtle. He definitely looked a little bit more to form, and you have been a teammate of his through his ups and downs, his peaks and valleys, where we've praised him, we've condemned him for poor play. What is it like? What's the feeling you have when you watch him kind of find success, what looks to be success in the first game of the season on Immortals?
Wild Turtle is such a genuine and funny guy. It just makes me so happy to see him do really, really well. Because you can hardly ever really get mad at him, whether he gets caught out or not. He's just such a nice guy. So seeing him mesh really well with Huni, Pobelter, everyone on his team is just really rewarding to watch. Whether they're going to be against TSM or any other of the teams, it's just exciting.
And Zyrene, that's kind of speaks to the interview that we had with Pobelter yesterday, where he spoke about, Wild Turtle feeds off of positive energy. And you have to imagine that if you have Huni on your team, that there's no lack of positive energy flowing through those comms. Is that something that can be learned from, I guess, by the other teams when we talk about Dignitas needing to have to come together synergistically and, from a mentality standpoint in order to overcome maybe some of these more individually talented teams?
I think that it's something that Dignitas can adopt and try to have trust in each other. But I want to actually jump over to an example that they can learn from that's not just Immortals. I think Renegades, the team that's going to be coming up here in the first game of the day, has a lot of trust in each other, right? We saw a lot of missed shockwaves by Alex. We saw a lot of missed headbutt pulverizes by Remy, right? But they kept going for it. And it was like they were saying, you know what, it's your first game on stage. We're nervous, but I'm here for you. I'm going to back you up. Everybody makes mistakes. We're just going to be able to say, hey, next time you'll get them, right? And I think that's something that being positive actually adds something. Being negative towards your teammate and being like, why'd you screw that up?
Right.
Is going to just be detrimental. Don't bring people down, right?
And that's the exact kind of mentality you need to keep on going on. When a team loses, that really, really tests the team. And by getting together and being positive, that's the only way you can really get better.
I guess the true test for Renegades and Immortals will be if and when they are given their first loss. And of course, a lot of this, is rolling with the punches as a lot of changes have been made to the game. And we touched on a few of the noticeable changes to the game this season, but we asked the pros what new elements they think will have the biggest impact on the competitive scene. Take a look.
Everything basically changed. All the masteries, runes, new champions are coming out.
It happens every season. There's big meta changes that just swings how you have to win the game.
A lot of the top lane meta and the meta in general is balanced around the masteries right now. So not necessarily a certain type of champion. And so since Grasp of the Undying and Thunderlord's Decree are the two strongest mastery keys, you'll see champions that can utilize those really well.
I guess this Underlord mastery is so fun that no one can pick anything else right now, which is...
I think games will be a bit more explosive this year than any of the other seasons of LCS because of the increased death timers.
Yeah, the games just go so fast because the death timers are somewhat high and then the towers die extremely fast.
When somebody dies, like, you can do a lot of stuff with that death timer.
The kill means TSM get their outer turret here. They're going to continue the pressure, 25 more seconds.
Top lane has a lot of variety right now. You can either be playing a tank, a supportive role like Lulu or something like that, or even just a carry top lane like if you're a Riven.
TP into lane just isn't worth it anymore, or isn't as beneficial because teleport's on a 5-minute cooldown. It just changes the playstyle of top lane, and you have to play completely differently than before.
There's no teleport for Haunter, so he would have to walk up.
ADC's items got changed a little bit. That means they're a little bit stronger early game. We're still a strong late game, still have a decent mid game. And I think there's a lot more versatility now.
Season 5 was, at the very end, was kind of just like Kalista, Ashe, Sivir. Like, you actually couldn't play anything else that wasn't straight utility. This time around, you can still play those guys because they have their utility still, but then hyper carriers and stronger dudes early game come out and shine and actually have a chance to do something.
Oh, wow! An overstep, a triple kill for Piglet!
For jungle and support, it's like really vital that, you know, you group together and get wards because there's no more green wards to be available for purchase.
It's really easy to deny the enemy vision right now. With one pink ward and the trinket, it will just speed up the pace of the game. You can just bait the objectives or provoke more fights, and it makes the game even more exciting, I think.
Down the Baron will heal back up. What a fight, straight to the middle.
Games end a lot faster now, and I really like it when games are more fast-paced and not drawn out.
I really enjoy this meta actually because if you fuck up, then you're gonna lose. And that's like a lot of pressure, but I'm really, really looking forward to something so like unforgiving. It's definitely in my like element.
Well, that's a lot of information coming from the pro players, and that, in my opinion, speaks to the diversity that we're seeing in the game. We've got 80 carries as junglers, we've got 80 carries in the mid lane, we've got AP carries in the top lane, Ryze, Lysandra, but as well as those high skill cap champions like Fiora still prevalent. But Dyrus, I want to come to you as an ex-pro, but still an expert on the game. What to you do you feel has been one of the biggest changes in the preseason coming into competitive?
So the first impressions of preseason was basically, oh wow, 80 carries are so OP. Caitlyn does like 1,000 damage crit at like halfway into the game. Oh my gosh, she's broken. But as we moved on and, you know, kind of figured out the meta in terms of solo queue, you can kind of see 80 carries like Caitlyn not really be as prominent as, you know, now it's like MF, Ezreal, and Corki, and Lucian. But one of the biggest things is that in the jungle, we see a marksman jungle, which is very, very rare. So, for example, we have Graves and Kindred. They're both very, very strong, you know, jungle picks. I don't know why. They just do a ton of damage, and they just bring a bunch of things to the team. But as you can see in a lot of these games where we see Elise, Rek'Sai, you know, all these CC junglers, they're still prominent because all of the early game where you know, 2 versus 1, you make plays, you tower dive, like all of that is still very relevant into snowballing the game. And that all really, really depends on how the players play, of course, in the first week of the LCS.
Yeah, and having those double AD carries helps you take those turrets very quickly, but also it means that the meta shifts a little bit, and now we're seeing things that kill AD carries. So like Lysandra's back to lock people up, and I'm surprised that we haven't seen a Zed yet, but I know that he's strong with Thunderlords as well against them.
Right, Champions Select just seems a little bit more directed now in terms of it really defines, it's dynamic and defines the play style that you're going to assume when you get into the game.
Exactly.
And it's not only the champion, it's also the mastery setup. The runes hasn't changed that much, but you know, Thunderlords, Feather, you know, Grasp of the Undying, on Gangplank top, you know.
Unkillable top laners now with crazy sustain.
Bandit, you just get free gold when you parlay someone.
Ridiculous. Well, we want to take advantage of Dyrus's experience, so today we're going to open up our Twitter question to you. Send in your questions by tweeting at LOL Esports and be sure to use the hashtag AskDyrus. Then keep it tuned here to get your learn on a little later in the show. Now, of course, it's time to throw it over to our dynamic duo at the caster desk to get us into our first match.
Thank you very much, Dash and gentlemen on the desk. Hello, everyone. I'm Rivington Biz in the third, and sharing the desk for our first 3 games with me is Joshua Chat Leesman. Good to be back, day 2.
First impressions were great. I'm ready for some second impressions.
Let's get some second impressions. We're going to jump straight in with our first game of the day between the new kids on the block, Renegades, and NRG Esports. Renegades are coming off a marathon of a match, 61 minutes to take down Team Liquid, and everybody else is saying it could get faster day 2. We'll see.
Yeah, a lot of good experience they got from that 61-minute game, and they showed a lot of strong coordination and were actively looking to make plays as a team throughout the game. If you look at their initiations that game, they relied on 2 or 3 players all working together. Freeze would seemingly always throw Remy into a fight on Alistair, and then Alex would need to have the Orianna ball to make a shockwave off of the throne in Alistair. And I mean, those are the types of plays that you only make when you have a lot of trust in your teammates. And I think that's already established on Renegades, even after they were making some mistakes in that game, which they were able to recover from.
Right, and that's something that even NRG can start to develop today, because they will be playing with their intended lineup now. Taking over jungle duties is Moon, and moving into the top lane is going to be Impact.
Yeah, Impact was a raw class split for Team Impulse. He set himself apart from the other top laners in North America. He was really the best, if not one of the best. And then Moon is a jungler that came up through the challenger scene. He didn't actually qualify for the LCS. He played in the 3rd place match, most recently with Team Imagine. So these 2 players kind of have different backstories, but they will both need to build on the victory that the subs picked up yesterday for Energy.
That's right, and speaking of Moon, he may be a rookie, but Impact says he has the right stuff to be a top-tier jungler.
아마추어인데 그래도 NA 정글 아마추어 중에서는 가장 잘하는 것 같고, 피지컬적으로 문제 없는데 팀적으로 문제 있기 때문에 그걸 보완해가 중이고, 조금 더 노력하고 연습하면 될 것 같아요.
So practice makes perfect?
Work hard in practice. I mean, at least he recognizes he has potential, and we've seen some issues before with some of the Korean imports not respecting their teammates. It looks like Impact already has the respect for Moon, which is a good start.
That's true. We'll see if he can build more. Let's check out the starting lineups. On the blue side, it's Renegades. That's top lane, RF Legendary, Crumbs in the jungle, Alex Each in mid, Freeze at AD carry, Remy at support, and Coach Hermes.
Everybody slotting in. On the red side, it is NRG with Impact in the top lane, who we just heard from. Moon in the jungle. GBM with 2 Baron steals already after one game is in the mid lane. AD carries all tech. Conquan is support and translator in game. And we got Herman as the coach.
So this is definitely going to make RF Legendary's job a little bit harder this game. Impact back in. He knows what the stage is about. The jitters may be there for a few games, but they shake out pretty close to halfway through.
Yeah, RF with some pretty solid tank play yesterday on Dr. Mundo. In and out of fights, soaked a lot of damage in that game. Very necessary damage when they're up against the Victor there from Phoenix on the other side.
He's basically like denying cleavers.
Yeah.
That's
the attempt.
Slows.
This will be a really fascinating game right here, because Renegades is an up-and-coming team. NRG, even though they're a lot of imports and they're new because of a purchased roster, the expectations are higher. This will be an expectation setter for the split going forward.
I cannot wait. I love the beginning of the splits, like the new school year. Everybody learns together. We get to figure out who is really going to come out on top. Names to be made, brands to be kept, and new brands to be made as well. Twisted Fate and Thresh are going to be taking out this game. We'll see Gangplank being the next. So pretty quick bans going out here. More of the same that we have seen, but the Thresh ban now against Renegades to keep it away from Remy. A lot of support actually there.
2 for 2 on the Remy bans, and you can see NRG is definitely attacking the champion pool of Remy. That was one of the biggest questions for Renegades coming in, is what would she be able to play after Thresh? Previously in the promotion tournament, it was Morgana, but because she defaulted to Alistair yesterday and Renegades showed some success with it, they throw in a second support ban, and then also just a top lane or mid lane or support Lulu, which is just a generic power ban to block the first pick.
Very directed here, tunneling on the supports. I mean, if you get here and you're a support, that means you can play more than 3. It's going to hurt Remy's pool a bit, but she's still going to be able to play something pretty well. And they get the first pick, Mundo. That means at least go over the side of NRG, and they still have one more here.
Totally. She is still an LCS level support. So it's not her best champion, but she'll still be capable. It's just that was NRG's strategy most likely going.
Yeah, we'll see if it works out for him. Still wavering on the first pick here. We saw the hover of Elise. They see possibly a top laner most likely right now. Or that jungle. What will it be?
Yeah. Very, I'd say, safe picks early on. Callista pairs with pretty much any support on the LCS level because it gives the support so much freedom. Also, Freeze with the 11 kills on Callista yesterday. That will be denied away from him. Currently, Freeze is tied for most kills in the LCS with Wild Turtle at 11. No more Calista for him.
It was
and
like a
obviously
day of 80 carries yesterday. Besides GBM steals, gotta give him credit for those. A lot of 80 carries doing well. So it does look like the Elise Calista lock in. The jungler is picked up for NRG. Moon's gonna be feeling pretty good about that in his first game to get a pretty top tier pick inside the jungle. Crumbs and Alex each now. Haven't showed too much with the Mundo pick.
Hermes waiting a little bit to tell these guys what to choose. There's actually not even much discussion going on, it seems, between Alex and Crumbs, mainly just the coach talking here. Rek'Sai will be the second game for Crumbs in just as many, or second Rek'Sai game in just as many games.
Right.
And then the Rise, that could go mid lane, most likely for Alex Ich.
We got that Mundo already in, so we'll see Alex trying to charge up in the mid lane on Rise for this. We saw a little bit of that at Worlds, but nobody really picked up on it. And we see it here and there now in 6.1, the patch that we are on starting off the 2016 season.
Yeah.
Bit of a hover here, GBM Xerath. We know it to be very, very good. Orianna as well, now hovering Ahri, deciding what to pick. It looks like the Fiora will quickly come in as Alltech takes that for impact, and it is an Ahri for GBM.
Right on, so he's going to be trying to get an early jump onto Alex Ich's Rise, because long ago, before any of these Rise reworks happened, Rise was actually a really tremendous pick against Ahri, because you would just flash Rune Prison before Ahri could dash away, and then your team would pile on a bunch of damage on top of that. So you can actually see both mid laners already hovering Cleanse for their Summoner spell to avoid such a scenario from happening. Takes away the kill pressure, honestly, for both of them, and might turn that mid lane into a bit of a farm fetch.
That's not what we want to see, Jeff.
Renegades had a 61-minute game. At least there were a lot of kills. It was an exciting 61-minute game.
This is true.
NRG's game was a little bit quicker, but still a little bit chaotic. Both these guys will have a chance to be the first 2-0 team in the North American LCS, but it won't be easy. They've played some pretty rough games so far.
So hopefully looking for some black shields to stop these fate calls, charms, and cocoons coming in. They have a pretty good front line to keep Freeze safe in the back, so it shouldn't be too tough for the fights here for Renegades.
True.
See what NRG files out here, or finishes off, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the front line goes, it's the same champions Arf, Legendary, and Crumbs played yesterday. Yep. That was a very tanky team that could focus around grouping and team fighting. And even though the Alistar was banned and Alex is on a different champion, it's still a very tanky setup. Morgana can augment takes quite well with the Black Shield. Rise with the Rod of Ages and Seraph's Embrace build that we usually see gets pretty tanky himself. So they will be looking to do a similar team fighting style that we saw yesterday.
Last pick for Conquan. Looks like he's choosing for himself. It would be the Trundle support. We saw Poppy yesterday, but that was in the jungle.
And Trundle would be pretty solid here, especially for being able to cut through the tanks that are going to be running at Calista. Calista is great at cutting backwards. In fact, this whole team now, as far as NRG is concerned, will be needing to play a kite back game fairly substantially and then flank around as they catch squishies with the Fiora and the Ahri. So the Trundle Pillar, which you can max as a support for the very low cooldown, is one of the best tools for doing so. Such a high percentage slow on such a low cooldown.
Yep.
As well as being able to shred the tanks while kiting.
Now, do you usually run Lucidity boots on Trundle, or do you still go for Swifties, still go for catch?
You honestly see a fair bit of variation. Trundle gets pretty quick just by putting down his domain there so we can run faster. But the swiftest boots have been seeing so much play. You'll get mobility advantages for either, whether it's cooldown from more slow pillars or speed in which to place the slow pillars.
Oh, it's going to be an interesting game. We saw NRG had to take it to Baron Steals last time. A little bit of lane loss in the early part of the game, and then they were able to bring it back around on some crazy plays by GBM. Renegades as well, having themselves a long game. So we're definitely in for an awesome first game of the day, whether it's another long fight or a quick one right to the base.
Under 40 minutes.
There we go.
Definitely.
It's time for the moment of truth. Head over to Twitter, share your predictions. Tweet at LOL Esports with the hashtag RENWin or hashtag NRGWin. And we'll tally those up as we get into the game and see how this pans out and who you are voting for. We're going to be on the Rift here in just a moment for Day 2 of the North American LCS. We will see who makes it 2-0 to start the split. It's either going to be Renegades or NRG, and we are on the Rift.
right.
So we're going to keep an eye on that laning phase. See what GBM can continue to do. We'll keep an eye on all the lanes and how these guys start the beginning.
Yeah, will we see lane swaps? What type of jungle starts? Will we see?
Who knows?
Moon's first game in the LCS here, so we'll be curious to see whether they kind of sacrifice his early jungle for a better solo or duo lane start, or if they kind of jump start him in the jungle by giving him a strong pull with their duo lane. It definitely varies by team and jungler. Cacao last year, for instance, over in the LPL would almost always get a full camp pull from his duo lane. His duo lane wouldn't take any experience. It would kind of slingshot him ahead of the other jungler, and then he'd go for some heavy counter jungling. But in this case, if you're thinking about NRG, they are typically, you would think, a solo lane focused team with Impact and GBM. Yet, already, you can see Impact and Moon. Will they double jungle? Most likely.
Also looking at the potions. Preference, style, refillable to Crumbs' regular potions.
Yeah, actually Crumbs is pretty much the only jungler to go Sightstone yesterday. He did a Chilling Smite with a Sightstone on Rek'Sai. Most people have just been going for the Tracker's Knife and then Boots of Swiftness to try and keep up with Rek'Sai anyway, because Rek'Sai needs to create a movement speed differential between who he's chasing if he ever wants to use his kit, which is why Chilling Smite is almost always needed. Yet Crumbs is the only person to build Chilling Smite on Rek'Sai since everyone has been valuing the early wards so heavily. Potentially does that again. I would expect Moon to go with the Tracker's Knife.
Something we will for sure keep an eye on. It is going to be the help for the junglers with the top laners inside. It's going to be our Legendary rather moving up quite fast the lane. We will meet Altek and Kan as we see Impact kind of hugging in the jungle with Moon to start this one off. Looks like they're going to even it out here and keep it quite even, just making sure RF cannot get any more experience.
Yeah, so this was actually a bad guess by Renegades right there, because RF Legendary essentially wasted a whole bunch of time. He walked up through a cleaver at 1 minion. Now he's coming down to help Crumbs with the double jungle. And you can see the pacing of which side of the jungle has been cleared fast. Yeah. Renegades is almost a full camp behind. The double jungle from NRG is already onto the red side of the jungle in Raptors, whereas Crumbs and RF are just now moving to the other side. And they didn't even full clear that camp. They left one, or the whole camp. I need to toggle my fog.
It's one
check. They left one.
Wolf.
That's a mistake right there. That's actually a pretty costly mistake.
Maybe trying to buy themselves a bit of time. The least camp that would hurt them to leave up, but like you said, bit of a mistake. Still something they're going to have to clear to refresh. And now the moves to be made by NRG. We'll see if they realize they have this much of a lead, already putting Altek and Kanquan up to the turret.
Yeah, you're actually right, Rip. Believing that small wolf isn't a mistake based on what's happening in this 4v0 lane swap. So what happens in a lot of these lane swap situations is 3 people will kill the turret, and then the 4th person will walk into and clear the jungle. But since Renegades cleared their essentially weak side of the jungle first, it's the weak side because their AD carry and support are on the other side of the map. You can see them now in the bottom lane. So what would normally happen when they see people up here is Moon would then track down and try and kill the camp. So really, Renegades just didn't want to leave any experience for them, so they left a small thing. Except the next level of that is the fact that NRG didn't even go and check. So now Crumbs is somewhat denied himself. It's a weird little mind game that honestly doesn't have much impact in the overall scheme of things, as both turrets do get traded.
Legendary is able to get that one to himself. A little bit of an invade by Crumbs to make sure nobody's on that side of the map. He knew they were safe, so he gets the Gromp himself, and things are about to even out a little bit here. We'll see who makes the right move, really. Gold's tied 4 minutes in. We'll see NRG starting to move down, possibly get some forward wards here. Seen, however, just in the mid-river.
Exactly, and this
Bite
is where
on vision.
It's where the early vision battle begins already.
Those cheap pink wards, man, I love it.
Cheap 75 guard pink wards, as well as getting 2 wards in your Tracker's Knife.
No siree.
There's a patch that makes that easier. As long as you're not intentionally putting it far away from the brush, the ward will seek to find the brush.
Yes.
But he still missed it.
We tried to help you.
Interestingly enough, okay, they ended up clearing it. I thought maybe they would leave the ward there so they don't give away
right at all.
But in fact, he still learned that they had a pink in that tri-brush and quickly lost his vision anyway. All these little interactions that have very little impact on the game.
A lot of tiny things happening.
A lot of small little things here.
Oh, looking for a pink ward clear. The charm misses and Alec gets away with that one. Looks like the backs from the AD carries have kept them quite even here. So the engage comes in from Crumbs from the brush. Altec uses heal. Teleport behind Freeze, but there's another teleport, so he feels safe to stay. The first kill goes onto Altec with both summoners blown. Moon trying to go in for a kill, but Crumbs tunnels out of the way. Remy's trying to keep them off more assists here and gets back to the wrong turret. That's going to be a kill on her. Moon eventually falls, and the chase continues. Legendary is going to pull off at this one, and a back and forth equals a 2-1.
Party in the bot lane, and I love the fact that Crumbs went for that gank at this specific time because he was in the duo lane where NRG had no turret to retreat to. So if it was going to be an extended fight, they would be able to retreat, but their opponent would not. Trying to figure out the chant the crowd is doing. I think that was TSM. Speaking of which, Crumbs realizes that NRG is actually going to follow the wave up, decides to not recall, immediately flashes to get the knockup, burns the flash out, and then the flash binding from Remy, which goes around Conquan, is ultimately the clincher for this one, because then Moon arrives a little bit late, so his presence actually isn't that impactful. Both teleports met at the same time. Impact does pick up the kill on Remy, but as you can see, they decide not to chase any farther. Still a 2-for-1. Big win for Renegades.
Looking for a fog of war binding from Remy. They keep clearing the wards on either side of that, maybe to keep that opportunity open. You see a lot of summoner spells used in recent fights. Actually, the cleanse was just used by GBM there on that binding. So a good attempt coming in from Renegades mid lane. Still action going around. Nobody really giving each other a chance to breathe on this one. A few backs now. Going to get some more items in the tier up for Alex. He'll start to charge that up. So a bit of a lull for him, unless the team decides to keep coming mid. We did see games we had yesterday where teams would pull out Rod of Ages but keep fighting. So anything's on the table.
Totally.
Renegades picking up more vision. They've been on top of this throughout the week.
Yeah, the vision control from Crumbs typically is what he prioritizes above all else.
Preaches it.
When he is at his best, he's able to do this and still outpace the other jungler. When it's not working, he falls behind. Here, though, he has a level advantage on Moon.
Yeah, so that level difference is what I saw first as well. Flash on RF Legendary. Called out. Going to have about 12.5 minutes. So he'll wait for that flash to come back up. So we'll see if NRG makes use of it. Blue still goes to Crumbs here because NRG doesn't know what's on the other side of that. The vision of Renegades is just too good, and they have to give up their blue with even having majority of players on that bot side.
Yeah. Crumbs and the bottom side of Renegades is out pressuring the bottom side of NRG, but a small interaction that happened during the skirmish we saw in the bottom lane was Impact had just cleared a wave and RF Legendary had not cleared a wave. So when they both teleported to that fight, RF actually sacrificed a large amount of experience, and he's kind of paying for it right now. As we saw, he burned his flash away. It's now a 2-level disadvantage, but Alex is on the roam, and Impact would have to make a pretty
as well.
play.
Pops it, gets his passive. Oh no, Legendary goes down. Impact makes sure he gets something for his troubles, and he may even make it out of this one alive. There's a Rune Prison. He can get that collection back up. Oh, flashed over. The Cocoon's gonna come if Alex wants to follow. He does not waste his flash because he doesn't have the vision. You gotta be kidding me. Impact, his first game back, and he's already making the plays his team needs.
Yep, he had the small advantage from the teleport experience differential, and then that was taking advantage of his edge.
Yeah.
Big play, knowing to go for RF. Honestly, RF had Alex coming down. He should not have been in kill range for that bait. The trick to baiting is to make them think they can kill you, but not actually have them kill you. So a failed bait there by RF Legendary. Impact gets everything he wants and wastes the time of Alex on the road.
Altec in the bot, very far up. He just gets vision of that ward, so it looks like he's going to start running the wrong way, which is technically the right one so far. There's that Chilling Smite you were talking about as well. The Sight Stone is there for him to get his wards. The kill's going to come up. Remy gets that with the binding. Already had the assist on the Tormented Soil, but wanted to secure the kill.
What was that flash by Freeze? That was completely unnecessary. Yes, they did pick up the kill, but a wasted summoner spell there for Freeze to get it. He was just really impatient. He just really wanted to kill him. Didn't want to wait another second to walk the distance of a flash. But instead they get him. That was... Altec was super dead in that situation.
Yeah, he knew it. He didn't waste any summoners. Good on him.
Not just dead, super dead.
So we had Impact pushing the wave up top. He had cleared it a bit, and he just moved to mid, so NRG was trying to make a move for Alex. There's someone, but it fizzled out there, so everybody returns to lanes. NRG still keeping options on the board to try and open up some doors for themselves. They're not too far behind just yet. RF still has a few minutes on that TP, or I'm sorry, flash to come back up if he were to use it. 12.5 is that time that we saw before. And Crumbs also leaves the top lane, so things kind of just settling down right now. Dragon is still on the board, but nobody's really made a move for it.
Yeah, yesterday we saw a lot of teams going for Dragon pretty early. And then the game's also getting stalled out via wave clear. This match, we actually see lower amounts of wave clear and also lower Dragon prioritization. But definitely a lot of action early.
There we go. NRG starting to put their foot down a bit. Good pink ward clear. They're able to get out with just a little bit. Just trying to chip away at what Renegades has right now and find themselves an opening. Top lane to Impact all by himself. We haven't touched on that CS. It's 60 to 32 right now. 7 to 6, so the level difference isn't that much, but it's going to be the item difference that becomes a problem in that situation.
And the turret difference in the lane is making a big part of this, because NRG is, in a sense, hurting Altec. He's died twice while trying to keep his farm up, despite not having the safety of a turret. And RF has also been punished with a death. At this point, Crumbs is trying to lend some assistance to RF, but at a certain point, you just have to let Mundo try and catch up on his own. The brilliance of Impact, though, is he's been freezing the lane in the right spots and then killing RF once he gets a big wave stacked up to deny the minion wave farther, which is why Crumbs, very smart player and actually a really good read right here, understands that this is when Impact is going to want to go aggressive to keep RF off the wave. Let's see if Impact senses the gank.
It seems it. He's giving it a little bit more. Okay, starting to feel sure. They're baiting him into this one. This is the bait they need to keep going. He can still go on to RF Legendary here. Puts the vitals down. He's going hard. RF's ultimate is there, and he has to flash away. Using Crumbs as a brick wall there, and the chase comes on now, but look who's coming up the river. Moon
has friends.
Antoine, the rest of NRG is coming in. Impact still alive, but he finally goes down as soon as the rest of the team gets there. That means to be able to pick up a few. Give him the assist he was fighting so hard to get the kills for, and pick up some good gold. This will be an extended chase. It could actually get something for Altec, but Crumbs is able to dive his way out of this.
Yeah.
1 for 1.
That kind of displayed the inherent danger of ganking an embattled lane, even if you execute the gank well. Crumbs was there long before anyone on NRG could lend support, but it was still a traded 1 for 1 and a narrow escape by Crumbs at the end of it. Yes, he feels like he's kind of bailed out RF a little bit, but at the end of the day, he feeds himself, and RF is still in trouble because he didn't get those minions. They fought with the big minion wave, and he didn't get the minions, so there's still a 2-level disadvantage. There was another kill onto Impact, and now Crumbs, he will need to take that kill to the rest of the map because I feel like top lane is done for at this point.
Needs to be opened up. RF needs to get some tanky items, throw his ult on, and hopefully be a nuisance in the fights right now because he is actually the target that NRG can go for if they want to, and that's not usually what you can say about a Mundo. 13 minutes in, NRG starting to really make some moves and get some map control, but they haven't been able to break the rest of these turrets just yet. They're not really getting too much more than just kind of the kills, and that fizzles out and they're in the same spot.
Yeah, because the really big benefits for Renegades is the fact that Alex each has a 20 CS advantage on an Ahri as a rise by stacking up his mana items. And then Freeze will be a monster late game on Lucian that can be black shielded with the strong tank line in front of him. Even though RF Legendary has died twice and taken some of Crumbs' time for those ganks, the rest of the Renegades lineup is doing very well as long as they can keep Impact under control in the late game.
Think about how these fights happen. Impact wants to get in. Once these guys are grouped, if that happens, you got rune prisons, bindings. It's going to be hard for Impact to get his damage down. Crumbs to the top, giving a little bit of ward love in, but heads right away after that to make sure the team has control of the map. He's going to go over towards the top side. Pulls up Remy with him, as well as Freeze, and they're going to give up the first dragon.
You'd think that this would have been a Dragon for Rift Herald trade as soon as Crumbs ran top lane.
That's what the clear was.
Yeah, they pinged the Rift Herald, but now Crumbs is instead going in for some deep wards and some counter junking. Again, Crumbs is about to patent the last player to build Sightstone on Rek'Sai. He's again going a Chilling Spine Sightstone, so we'll have the big movement speed difference on his opponents, as well as a larger pool of wards than the tracking knife. It just, he paid a premium for those two things. And Moon should be able to pick up more combat effectiveness for gold efficiency from that standpoint.
Bottom for mid. I would definitely take this trade. Renegades in a pretty nice spot here. They have to be careful about any flank coming from the bottom. Teleports up for Impact, and he just finished that Titanic Hydra. So he could leave a mark on Renegades, but they get out clean on that. And it looks like bottom turret, rather, will just go down quite slow. GBN's going to be level 11 very soon here. So he may be able to put some damage down with that second level of ultimate if he is engaged.
It's going to be going Abyssal Scepter into the Frost Queen's claim.
A lot of Frost Queens now.
Pick that up pretty quickly.
So good.
Yeah. Currently just sitting on the Frost Fang, so he's getting that plus 2 gold per 10 seconds, which honestly adds up pretty quick over time. That by the end of the game will be probably about an extra 1,000 gold. It's one of the many reasons Frost Queen's claim is such a OP item at the moment. RF as well has been able to pick up a Sunfire Cape and is now neutralizing Impact quite well.
Yeah, must feel a little bit better for him. If he goes hard, he still has to give up the lane with 2 levels down. That's just the way that one works, but he can stand toe-to-toe now and not just get dove under his turret. Impact, go back, we'll see what he can put under his belt. No new items now, sitting on about 1,000 gold, so just more damage for him. Where do NRG go from here? They have Dragon 1. Mid lane could be the next one with the outer turrets being down. What is going to be the next one at some point?
Well, at the moment, it depends on where the pink wards and the deep wards are. Renegades had deep warded the red side jungle of NRG, taking the mid lane turret, but they cannot take a top lane turret because of how weak Mundo is. Meanwhile, when when NRG, thank goodness RNG is no longer the tag for Renegades, or this would be a dyslexic's nightmare. NRG will be warding, because they had the deep wards in the jungle of Renegades, they then made the move for the mid lane. So to answer your question, the next move already happened to take the mid lane turret.
It's been done. Whoa, trying to use that level 11 ult, misses the charm just off the side. And with the shield on, protects himself enough so GBM doesn't want any more of that. Uses the rest of the rushes to get away. And we see focus now from Renegades on the top turret. It looks like it will be answered as well. Alltech and Moon feel like they can put some damage down on this, but it seems to be a back and forth as Alex each pushes mid.
Yeah, a lot of splitting going on right now. And NRG doesn't have the confidence to walk into this one. They haven't been able to fully secure their own jungle yet, so they have to give up that turret.
I love the baits. He's like, yeah, I'll just back right here. Oh, you want to fight? They have the vision to know it was safe, though. Impact doing his own thing, pushing. Yeah. It's exactly what he should be doing. Not many people right now can take him down 1v1, if any, on the side of Renegades. So he is doing exactly the right thing on the bot side. The turret from RF Legendary as well as the Rift Herald goes down. That's going to be given to Mr. Freeze. It might be the last time we see that go down.
Definitely will be.
Yes.
Baron will replace it come 20 minutes. The respawn timer on Rift Herald will not be back up before that point. RF getting some gold on the backside.
Little golf clap.
Not bad. Staying in the game. Sunfire Cape, Ninja Tabi really tanking up. Impact will be building that Black Cleaver next.
You know what actually really favors RF as well, especially if Alltech can't find a Mortal Reminder later, is they don't have Ignite. So in the fights when he does get tanky, he could be a problem if they go extended. And that's going to help Alex, because Alex wants an extended fight.
I also wonder the way the team fights are going to shake out, because there's a couple of different ways NRG can approach these. Basically, the problem that they're facing, if we don't have a fight right now, is that Renegades will have a very strong tank line and is going to try and use those tanks for Alex and Freeze to do damage. However, NRG has squishy targets that have 2 options. They can either flank around the tanks to try and kill the squishy targets with their mobility from Ahri, Elise, and Fiora, or they can try and shred the tanks and kill them as quickly as possible because they also have tools for that. If Impact is to use his Fiora ultimate on Mundo, up to 40% of his max health can be lost just by proccing all 4 vitals, not to mention the resistances that can be shred by the trundle. So they do have some options coming into this fight. Nice parry.
Gets the flash out of Impact. That means his engage becomes a little taken away. 1 minute on to Dragon. That's exactly the kind of things they want to see being blown by NRG right now. Very low kill score game here. Both teams definitely expecting damage once one person or another goes down in a fight and they back off. So that's why we're really not seeing too much be taken after the fights as well. Spooky Ghost chilling on Conquan. He's able to break that, not have too much trouble rather. And Renegades continues to kind of just mill about the Dragon area until that comes up. They're not going to allow number 2 to be a thing. They would like their damage upgrade as well. First Dragon for them. Put them on the board. And stop really the 5th Dragon from happening.
Yeah, and currently it seems like NRG is pretty content just letting Impact create pressure in the side lanes and maybe even trade this Dragon for a turret. If Renegades goes to pressure that Dragon, NRG would either have to burn the Fiora teleport to get in. Yeah, and already, smart recall there by RF Legendary, because he doesn't want to have to burn his teleport to stop the turret. He wants to be able to burn his teleport to assist in the Dragon. But now Impact has gone into Fog, meaning he could teleport in. Renegades may not know before it's too late, so a little bit of a mind game going on right here.
What's he gonna do? Can't get to the other side? Oh, procced it. Oh my word. That is painful. Yeah, Legendary knows he can't do too much there, but neither are going to stop each other's teleport, so if they want to get to a fight, they can get to a fight. It's going to be hectic. If it happens, that is going to be the Flash Cocoon from Moon. That misses, and is that enough for Crumbs? He's looking for the Flash entry, gets it onto Moon, repels up, but he's going to be first to go down. When he comes down, he actually makes it out, and it's Crumbs who goes down, the initiator, as NRG sees that and assesses it very well.
I agree with NRG's calling in this play because they recognized Renegades was split. Somehow, Alex Each found himself in the bottom lane. So immediately, NRG pushed the mid lane as hard as they could. They actually did not get the turret, but they got at least half of the health down for it. And then Crumbs initiated again because he saw the juicy 3-man knockup, but it was before Alex Each had arrived. And then we saw an example of the tank shredding potential from NRG. Trundle Ultimate went down onto Crumbs. He lost a large percentage of his resistance, and he got speared to death basically by Ultimate.
Yeah, right away. Looks like he's actually picked himself up some distortion so he can do some of those more flash engages for himself and get in quicker. Looking at trinkets, few have been upgraded far sights for the AD carries as we see. Dragon's back up, and here will be, I should say, that Dragon that Renegades was going to grab to be number 1. Now NRG's number 2.
And Renegades can't get in position to stop this one.
Nope.
Crumbs had used his ultimate to arrive at the last fight. And more importantly, RF would have had to teleport down to match, and Impact would have then gained the teleport advantage on him. It's actually really, really important that Impact doesn't get a teleport advantage on RF Legendary right now, because RF Legendary can stop him from killing turrets, but he can't stop him from killing his team if he can't match the teleports coming back. And it's really, really necessary that he neutralizes him with a match TP.
All right, so good push top lane by RF Legendary. Takes care of that. Now we can respect the bottom lane push that Impact is going to be coming on. Things falling into place for a fight to work for Renegades, and that's exactly what they need. They've been losing way too much and need to start pushing back here. But NRG's not really giving them an opening just yet. Great play, really all around. GBM having a much better mid lane phase than he did on Victor yesterday. Controlling the map for his team. We haven't really seen too much power play from him, and now he's starting to take damage from Freeze. NRG backs off, not to get baited into a fight.
So the teams have cleared the outer ring of turrets, and the small one turret advantage for NRG. The next move really requires some deep wards, but because this game is so close, it's really difficult to find them.
Yeah.
So what'll probably end up happening is we'll see whoever can deny vision first, and that's how a pick will happen. Both these teams have pretty good catch potential as soon as they see a numbers advantage.
See, Impact has switched over to the Ravenous Hydra for himself from Titanic.
Yeah. It's a nice little freedom that these top laners can have. Impact has done the whole game. He actually started with a Vamp Scepter, finished Ravenous, switched it to Titanic.
Yeah.
Then once he had Black Cleaver, switched it back to Ravenous.
Also seeing that gap of CS has somewhat been closed by Legendary. He's getting much closer and having a much better game for himself. Is not focused. Held on in the top lane, made things tough for the team in the beginning, and that's the result we're seeing here. NRG with a lot of control. That's a binding they need to be able to work off of, but it was too much distance. Nobody could close it. Moon repels over the wall, thinking NRG had the upper hand there. Splits the upright. Remy misses a binding there, going for the flash and ignite forward. And now it's Impact versus Alex Each here in the bot lane. Impact getting crushed down. Alex standing still, and Impact not able to get around to get any more battles, but he finally does. Challenge accepted, and Impact comes out on top.
Whoa, so first off, good binding from Remy that's followed up by the team, and then Impact just outduels Alex. Alex's passive ran out, so he lost his spell cooldown reduction, and it allowed Impact to clean up the vitals. Here we go.
A no vision flash. RF Legendary going crazy for a moment. The team actually following RF step back. Not really miscommunication. Looks like they're just trying to stop backs, deter, get vision, and use this pressure time that they have wisely. What a back and forth, but we've only gained a few kills on each side. Now 5-5. Very even games as we come into this first week of the LCS.
Yeah, and Impact was the force to be reckoned with that he thought he would be. Alex had been farming the whole game.
Crazy fight.
Just picked up a QSS. He's going to try and prevent that from happening again. So this will be the duel. So, see, Alex had his passive very early, and this, also the CC got blocked initially, which made it harder to chain, but here, Alex can no longer cast spells because his passive expired, so he doesn't get the cooldown reduction when he lands his spells. Allows Impact to chase down. Basically because Impact didn't get full bursted during the duration of Alex's combo, he could then turn it around and finish him off with the sustained damage of Fiora.
Man, Impact's got to be feeling pretty good for himself here. Coming back in his debut for 2016. 3-1-1, really controlling the top lane for his team. Moon hasn't even had to give too much attention to that lane after the first visit. And they have just been running with this advantage so far. Minute 50 on the Dragon. That'll come to be something that I believe Renegades wants to stop number 3 from coming in. Clear that, you can see it. They just don't want to get caught over the wall. Not really much that's going to pick them out from there with that amount of front line, I should say. Bar of Legendary Crumbs. Renegades now chomping at the bit here to find a way to knock down the second tier line of turrets, because it means if NRG wins a fight here in any big capacity, that could be an inhibitor turret.
Yeah, really at this point, death timers at 26 minutes in the new season are still consequential, so you have to be mindful of that. Oh, gets the last rune prison off.
Oh, he just used the Quicksilver Sash, but he still has the Summoner spell. Cleanse goes off, also gets the passive.
Got the QSS to get rid of the Grand Challenge for Fiora. Got the Cleanse to get rid of the Charm from GBM. Alex Siege takes a couple ultimate cooldowns.
Don't you love it when
backs away.
You buy something and it basically pays for itself in your first fight? Love it.
Here the question is, though, he's now burned everything. What does he use to stop the pushes?
Looks like this turret goes down. Altec almost gets it. The minions won't be able to hit it. There's a sneeze to take down that turret. Frozen Domain goes down. And NRG heads out right now. 30 seconds on that Dragon. It's coming time for another objective fight. Heal has been used by Altec in that last engage, and a lot of energy's backing, so this may be just a non-contested Dragon for Renegades.
Yeah, not the best timing right there. You could see NRG really wanted the greed for that turret, but they end up not finishing the turret. Now it's probably going to cost him a Dragon. Just based on the timers, 6 seconds left. They do have the home guard bonus, and Impact has teleport. You know, they can make it back for this if they actually wanted to fight. The problem is they have to check through fog, and against Dark Lining, that can oftentimes cost you more than just the Dragon.
We just saw RF trying to put a forward ward down, but it did get cleared out, and NRG is right back and ready. Those 20-minute home guards, putting them back into position to contest this Dragon that we thought was going down very fast and is only at half health. TP coming in from Impact on the top side. He's very far behind the team, though, towards bottom lane on the minimap. Dragon's going to be left alone. The fight happens, and it looks like Moon kind of repels out to Alex to make sure he can get away. NRG is setting up towards the mid, trying to deny vision towards that brush. Legendary too far in. He gets picked out, and Renegades just starts falling one by one as NRG continued to dance themselves back, and back until they could take the fight.
That was an example of how well this NRG team can kite thanks to the supportive, high cooldown, maxed Pillar of Ice from Trundle. That Pillar is on an 8-second cooldown, and despite Impact's TP coming in so far away and then running for about 15 seconds before he joined, they still win the fight. And it's because they could disengage it for so long. And oh, Altec, he's stuck around! Oh, clever Altec. Riv. That was so mean.
And they're getting Baron at the same time.
That was so mean and so clever right there, because Crumbs himself was trying to outsmart NRG, but he got completely outgamed here. We're going to talk about the fight first. Here, it's basically Remy can never get in for a good ultimate, and no bindings land clean. They're all running away very well, but look, the pillar's just sitting right there. So the entire Renegades team is slowed. Finally, Impact arrives. By that point, Renegades has already burned cooldowns trying to get through the Trundle pillar. Alex doesn't have cleanse, can only use the QSS, so he can't keep himself safe forever. They chase him down. And to talk about that move by Altec, you always assume that if a team runs to Baron, they're bringing the Kalista, because Kalista is such an amazing Baron taker.
That's true.
Ren. So Crumb's like, oh, they're going for Baron. Why would an AD carry be in our jungle after a team fight when Baron is up? Altec did it though. He's a badass, and he kills a person and secures the dragon for NRG.
Nicely done by him. It's those little moves that really keeps the team moving on the advantage and having one step ahead advantage in the game. 3-2-3. Not amazing as a game yesterday, but he's still putting up good numbers for his team. And really, it's because everybody else is stepping up this game, and they're all able to put down some good power. Here we see RF Legendary getting tanked under the, tanking under the turret. Impact. He's gonna have vision on the other side, but he's gonna have to go back with a minion wave. He's safe, and everywhere you look as a member of NRG, they are where Renegades does not want them to be.
Yeah, things go from bad to worse now that even the inhibitor turret couldn't stop RF from falling to Impact. Burns his flash, loses his turret, and still dies, thanks to GBN roaming down. Renegades has fallen behind the pace here, and NRG is split pushing probably for the game.
throw right into the turret. Soul Shackle.
No. Yeah, Renegades out of sorts.
Getting desperate to save these turrets now, kind of using spells off the call of a fight and just on the whim of saving a turret.
Two inhibitors getting pressured at once, but the Morgana ultimate is down, so unless the binding lands true, flashed away, they're still going to lose at least one inhibitor. Probably two, because now Impact's coming around for the flank.
This could be very bad. Impact sees Crumbs first. They're going to turn back and kind of just pull this fight back and forth. Nobody's really in the top lane anymore to keep doing damage, so whoever here in the bottom lane from NRG definitely has to be a bit more careful.
Yeah, oh man,
They'll be all right. I think they'll be all
they're
right.
relentless right now, and honestly a little bit greedy, because, well, if they can just kill Crumbs.
All right, never mind. I was going to say the top lane's low, like Conquan's low, Moon was low until he backed, but GBM and Impact are doing quite fine right now. If that last spear rush can get them out, and they are just giving Renegades so much trouble in their own base. Altec was not one to back with Conquan and Moon. He stayed. That's why we saw Renegades go bot, but Altec's still trying to be a one-man team.
That's why it was a greedy play, because the two NRG solo laners stuck around while the other split-pushing threat was gone, which gave Renegades the freedom to send the kitchen sink at them to try and kill them. But in doing so, Crumbs dies to the two people of NRG, and they don't get anyone. That does not bode well.
No.
We're seeing the gaps in Renegade's initiation here. Yesterday, it took them a while to find the right fights, despite having Kalista, Alistar, Orianna, and Rek'Sai to initiate. Today, they've been denied the Kalista, the Alistar has been banned, so their initiation is longer range. It either has to be a binding landing or Crumbs tunneling in all by his lonesome, and when Crumbs does that, Conquan puts the Trundle Pillar on the rest of the team and they just kill Crumbs. NRG has figured out the way Renegades wants to initiate based on the team compositions, and they are executing to defeat them.
You gotta take away any sure initiation, any chance that it could happen. Renegades has realized they can't just throw Remy in on Morgana this time. Still being split pushed. The last time we really looked at the score, it was 5-5. Now it's 11-5. A surge from NRG in these past 10 minutes of the game. And they have been able to pick up every dragon on the map so far. Objective control to them, even though they waited a little bit to get that first one. They've really had the game in their hands since then. Looking at an 8,000 gold lead right now. Whoa! Try for freeze, flash for flash. AD carry going down would have been very nice, but that could also be the pressure they need to take down the turret. Legendary and Crumbs going in here. They have Conquan, but he's pretty big, especially with that ultimate. And like you said, with that Kalista not being on the side of Renegades, they're using it for defensive purposes on the side of NRG.
Kalista Trundle just so difficult to initiate onto. Even if you do manage to reach Trundle, who's going to be blocking skill shots for anyone else while he's stolen resistances from your tank, you can just pull him back. 5-man group in the mid lane, trying to get some work done.
Back and forth. There's still a decent amount of crowd control to lock somebody under that inhibitor turret, and that's exactly what NRG doesn't want, but they're filing in and out quite nicely. And with that pressure onto the Nexus turret, no, they're going to actually go for a fight here? That's Impact going in on Alex. Yeesh. Very, very hard. They push him off the turret. They don't even want the turret. They just want kills right now. They said, we have an open inhibitor. Nexus turrets are already going down. Nothing needs to be done in the mid lane. It needs to be done inside the base, and work is being done. That's the fight. That's good night. Possibly 35 minutes in, 13-5. Alex East is trying to bait them out of the base. Crumbs goes right into the middle of the frying pan. It gets cooked up. Alex is the next one sauteed and put down. And now Remy trying to do what she can to deter the sight of NRG from the Nexus, but it does not work. NRG is going to go 2-0 in the first week of the spring split.
35 minutes, 29 seconds, so much faster than the games we saw yesterday. Impact and Moon feeling pretty good about that win at the end of the day, and Impact did so much work this game. Yes, GBM and Alltech all pitched in, but it was constant split push pressure by Impact that was splintering Renegades, not allowing them to get the solid team fights they wanted, and just tremendous disengage and discipline by NRG to always walk away from the fights when Renegades was trying to initiate.
I think the disengage we really know of is that dragon fight, if you ever need a replay of it.
Yeah.
The teleport 2 or 3 screens away from Impact wasn't a problem. That's when you know your team is disengaging well.
Exactly. It was a teleport that honestly was properly reacted to by Renegades. Whenever someone's teleporting in behind you and is separating themselves from the team, just go for the 5v4.
Yep.
And Renegades had 15 seconds of 5v4 where they couldn't actually reach anyone. When that happens, you don't really have ways to win the game at that point. And Renegades kind of realizes this. Not a very satisfying way to lose because, you know, think of it just like a boxer that has way more reach. You always want to get in there so you can throw your power punches, but they just got killed with jabs.
We got to look at champion select as well. 2 in a flex, 2 in Lulu, 2 supports and a Lulu band away. And we did see that affected them. They also went to first pick Mundo, and then that was the focus of NRG in the beginning of the game to shut down RF Legendary. So they kind of went all at the major points that Renegades was trying to hit.
And not only did it shut down RF Legendary, it enabled Impact to create a split pushing threat, which is really the core if you're running a 4-man disengage 4-1 split push with the split pusher. That split pusher needs to be able to draw a second man of attention so that your 4v3 can make power plays, and if it's a 5v4, they can disengage. It was just really textbook by NRG, and I've really loved their drafting in both games they've played so far in the LCS.
Worked really well. Awesome to see. And right now we're going to send it down to Freak, who's on stage with NRG's AD carry.
Thank you very much, Riv. What's up? Alltech is here with me. 2-0 start to the week, by the way, you guys, in first place. Tell me about your expectations coming into the week. 2-0 was expected?
It was pretty expected for us. I think just the first match, because we had to play with subs, so it was kind of iffy and up in the air. But now that we're 2-0, we're pretty happy with it.
So talk to me about sort of bringing this team together, because to my knowledge, like pretty much none of you guys have like played together until this team comes together. Like, what was gearing up and getting ready for the season like?
I think the team, the biggest thing we had was to boot camp in Korea together, and I think that really helped us because it just taught us how to play vision and just communication a lot better.
Well, I want to talk about that boot camp in Korea because I know Renegades went over there as well. I assume you guys played them at least a little bit while you guys were over there. So did this matchup kind of go as expected as well?
It's hard to say because let's just say it was 1 month ago and it was on a different patch, so we can't really say, but I think it was to be expected that we win this match. So.
And you guys did really well. So then, moving on then to sort of your team dynamic and the big players. You've got a lot of really big all-stars. You've done very well over in the LCS so far. GBM coming over from Korea, he's been awesome. Impact's got a lot of hype around him, former world champion. You have all of these big stars. How does that sort of affect the team dynamic? Do you have to find someone to play around, or is everyone really chill?
I think we're pretty chill. If everyone's willing to sacrifice, let's say if someone is able to carry, then we give resources to him instead of I must need a carry, so give me all the resources. So everyone's very versatile.
That's really good to hear that your team's so versatile. Alltech, thank you very much. Congrats on the 2-0 start. We'll see you next week, and we're going to see the NLSS to talk about the game some more.
Thank you, Freak. NRG with their full roster there, picking up another win. So 2-0 on the week. It's a great way to start. But I want to start in Champion Select because we saw them throw out somewhat of a suspect, maybe, 2 support bans in the Alistair and Thresh against Remy. So a lot of respect there for her, too. The champion she played yesterday and then the Thresh, which she is known for. Thoughts on that, though?
When I think about those two bans, I definitely think that these are the best champions in Remy's pool, but they had a purpose. They weren't just saying, oh, she's a really good player, let's ban her out. It was, she is the source of RNE's engage, right? The Kalista combo with her yesterday was what made those fights start. So now you look at the composition that REN drafted, where's the engage on this, right? It's the Morgana pick, and then what they ended up doing on NRG side was they drafted 4 pick champions. Trundle, you have single target lockdown with Ahri and also Elise. And so these are champions that if you have engage and you're able to engage on them with some hard engage like an Alistar and lock them up, they're going to get deleted very quickly. So I like those takeaways so that they can run this split push composition and not worry about Renegades engaging on them really hardcore. And also in their first round, they took Kalista away too.
But at the same time, Morgana's kind of the champion where it's like that middle ground. And so when you throw out these Elise cocoons, these Ahri charms, there's always like the Morgana shield, the Morgana bind. There's still kind of like the half and half there. It does kind of take away from the full-on engage, like you said, but it's still not like we banned these champions, so we're going to win the game. It's more like a ban where it's like, she's very effective on these champions. We should take them away. It's not going to like win us the game, but what else are we going to ban?
Right, and then of course it results in the leaving up of the likes of Mundo and Rise, which were picked up. And I mean, Elise, Rek'Sai, there's actually still a lot of power that was left on the board in banning these champions out, as opposed to throwing out a Soraka ban, throwing out the Mundo and the Rise to begin with. So having these targeted bans is something we haven't seen too much of recently, but of course, it was effective. NRG comes away with the win, and this is where I want to kind of transition to the fact that we've seen the full lineup, Impact and Moon now in for NRG. So final first impressions of this, roster. Impact, experienced top laner, we've seen him before, but now in his full lineup. I mean, this guy has no shortage of highlight plays in his career.
Yeah, he gets an early kill down in the bottom lane, and then he starts snowballing on this Fiora that he got to counterpick the Mundo with, and then he starts running away with the game and just picking on RF.
Yeah, RF kind of showed a little Dyrus mistake there where you kind of overextend with all the creeps and then not letting Alex H do all the damage he needed to do and barely gets away there.
And once again, now he starts dueling Alex, who is the highest level person in the game at this point, but Impact plays this fight so well. And this just shows that Impact, he was a split push threat back on SKT, right? There's an SKT Jax skin for a reason, and he was actually able to push it through, right? I think that this is a really, really great thing for him, because now he'll be able to play these split pushes instead of being on engage duties, playing Maokai and stuff like that.
Right, absolutely. And, it's a terrifying thought that you're willing to 1v1 a Rise that's higher level than you. I would never want to do it, and yet he has the confidence to do so. And when I look at that roster, the veterans, GBM and Impact, who are lauded as very good players, Altec, still on his way up. They have a lot of backbone in that team. And then you have, the newbie in Moon, who kind of gets to come along for the ride, and we'll see how he develops throughout the season. But even with all of this, we saw that the game was relatively close throughout the majority of it. It wasn't until 29 minutes into the game that it really blew open in one large team fight around the Dragon. I kind of want to walk through that because it was a pretty explosive fight. Impact did have a pretty big part in eliminating Freeze in it.
Yeah, and this fight ends up being basically the straw that breaks the camel's back. It's pretty even at this point. They're clashing back and forth, but then what happens is the kite backwards from NRG leaves Renegades to go into the left side. They need to meet up with Alex, and then that gives Impact a really great angle to come in, because it's a 4-on-5 here, and NRG are on the same page at the start.
Right, on the minimap here, you can still see Fiora coming across the front of the Dragon Pit. Not even there yet. Now she's entered the fight.
Yeah, it was all about buying time too, right? The Zanya's just to make sure that he gets in right at that moment, and he keeps everybody occupied.
It kind of looked like a fight where it was like Alex Each was flanking, but they were taking aggro on Dragon, and then, it looked good, and then once they hit that choke point, they just threw out Trundle, Pillar, Ahri Charm, Elise, and then Impact finally flanking in. So they got really, really low from the Dragon, and it just, turned out that way when you get clumped up and you can't run the other way, so you only have to run one way into the death zone.
Yeah, Dyrus, we had some conversation during the game where you had some criticism of something that a lot of teams struggle with, in that the decision making around Baron, for example, as an objective, or in this case, Dragon, maybe overcommitting because they felt as though as soon as they see the other team in a misposition or heavily allocating resources to one side of the map, they feel the only option is to go for the Baron, as opposed to maybe pushing a lane. Do you feel like, you know, when you analyze Renegades as a team, that their greatest weakness as of right now, or perhaps the thing they can improve on the most, is in that shot calling realm, where they're maybe over allocating resources to a global objective that then puts them in a situation like that where they are able to get picked off?
I don't think it's too much of a weakness, but I think it's more lack of experience and going into solo queue. For example, in that game, we saw 2 people go on Alex each on the bottom lane, and their immediate response was they made a decisive call to go for Baron. Although the problem with that is they still have 3 other people on the map, and the jungler can 50-50. The correct thing to do is to pressure lanes or to give pressure back to your bottom lane. So what you want to do is you want to take control of the middle of the map. But instead what happened was they went for Baron, and the enemy 3, just because they attacked Baron, they got control of middle, and so they lost a whole bunch of pressure. But by going middle, if your tier 2s are up, you want to be, you know, playing to get as much pressure as vision as possible. You don't really want to start Baron unless their jungler's off the map, unless you have like tons of vision, their tier 2's down. Like there's so many things to consider, and they just got punished for it.
So some things to learn for Renegades. A solid win, though, for NRG, closing out the week 2-0. We're going AFK while our next 2 combatants, Team Dignitas and CLG, load onto the stage. Don't go anywhere. Our spring split coverage continues after this.
It's like the pitch and timbre of his voice just
your voice is
into
too
a
sharp.
microphone. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
He's like Big Brother.
I'm tilted.
The engage comes in from Crumbs from the brush. Alltech uses heal. Teleport behind Freeze, but there's another teleport, so he feels safe to stay. The first kill goes onto Alltech. Alex standing still, and Impact not able to get around to get any more battles, but he finally does! Lucian. We get back.
Good job.
Very, very hard. They push him off the turret. They don't even want the turret. They just want kills right now. NRG is going to go 2-0 in the first week of the spring split.